This is a video on why you should not try to rehabilitate wild animals at home. My name is Elian and I have been working in wildlife rehabilitation for the past year. This video is made with information from experienced professionals and credible online sources. Wildlife rehabilitation is a complicated process, even for experts. It requires expertise in different species and their natural behaviors and needs. It also requires expert medical knowledge to treat injuries, illnesses, and parasites. Despite the laws in most places that guide people not to perform wildlife rehabilitation in their own homes, some people still do it. Some of the reasons people attempt to rehabilitate wildlife in their own homes are they care about wild animals and want to help those that are injured or seem helpless. They see injured or helpless animals and they want to prevent them from being euthanized by wildlife conservation officers or rehabilitators. These are compassionate responses, but not always educated ones. What people may not understand is that they do not put the welfare of these animals first when bringing them into their own homes. Wildlife rehabilitation should be about the best interests of the animal and the natural environment that they come from. The main points that will be discussed in this video to encourage people not to rehabilitate wildlife in their own homes are lack of access to medical care, habituation, and the spread of zoonotic diseases. These are images of a surgery performed on a hawk with a fracture in its leg. Fortunately, this hawk was taken into care at a wildlife rehabilitation and the break was able to be repaired so the hawk could successfully be released back into the wild. Professional medical treatment is necessary and cannot be provided in a person's home. Wild animals cannot be brought to domestic vet offices for treatment like dogs or cats. In most cases, they also cannot live with the disabilities that injuries or illnesses cause them, such as broken wings or blindness. Keeping wild animals in your home only creates long-term suffering when they are prevented from getting the medical care that they need. The second topic that we are going to talk about is habituation. Habituation is when wildlife becomes accustomed to things like being handled, living in a human's home, or receiving food from a human. In the wild, this is not natural, and wildlife should fear humans. Wildlife that are least habituated get labeled as nuisance animals because they hang around people expecting to be fed. This can often result in them getting euthanized by conservation officers. If they aren't euthanized and no one takes care of them, then they will only die on their own because they no longer have the instincts to be able to find food or protect themselves. Habituation leads to poor outcomes for wildlife, and most of the time results in more suffering or death upon release. Wildlife rehabilitation establishments have enclosures that mimic the natural environment. As you can see in this image with the North American porcupine, this enclosure has natural tree branches for browsing and climbing, a place to hide, and is secluded from human interaction. Wildlife rehabilitation establishments also have trained staff and protocols in place to prevent habituation and encourage successful natural behaviors upon release. Refraining from rehabilitating animals in your own home will prevent them from becoming habituated and coming to further harm in the future. The final topic that we will focus on is the spread of zoonotic diseases. Rehabilitating wildlife in your own home can encourage the spread of disease not only in wildlife but also in humans as well. Zoonotic diseases are illnesses that affect wildlife and can be spread to human populations as well. Zoonotic diseases and even parasites can be spread from wildlife to humans as well as domestic pets. By rehabilitating wildlife in your own home, you are possibly exposing yourself, your pets, and everyone you come into contact with. Some common examples of zoonotic diseases that you may know of are rabies and COVID-19. A zoonotic disease that is currently running rampant among the wild bird population is the avian flu. As you can see on this map, it is affecting wildlife in many different countries and continents. It is likely in your own home that you cannot follow isolation protocols or have access to the necessary protective equipment to prevent the spread of disease. Wildlife rehabilitation centers will have protections in place such as foot baths as well as personal protective equipment that can be seen in these photos. This equipment is necessary for all interactions with potentially contagious dangers that come from wildlife. Wildlife rehabilitation centers will also have isolation enclosures and protocols to prevent the spread of illness or parasites from one animal to another. If you are rehabilitating wildlife in your own home, you are likely encouraging the spread of disease and parasites. To prevent this, it is best to leave wildlife rehabilitation up to the experts, who can provide proper protection from the spread of disease in both animals and humans. To conclude, in wildlife rehabilitation, it is important to put the best interests of the animals first, as well as the best interests of human health. Bringing injured or orphaned animals to a wildlife rehabilitation instead of trying to rehabilitate them in your own home is important in putting the needs of the animal first. Every animal should be able to receive the medical care that they need. They should not be habituated to receiving care from humans in human homes and should be able to live at liberty in their natural environment. Ultimately, bringing wildlife to a rehabilitation center not only protects the welfare of the animals, but also the welfare of humans by preventing the spread of illnesses that can put human lives in danger. To care for wildlife, we have to remember that they do not belong to us. We may aid in their care, but what we want is not always what's best for them. Call your nearest wildlife rehabilitation establishment before intervening with the wildlife in your area. Leaving them be might just save a life.